Arch side, arch. Colors, home. Right, face. Post, colors. Reset, arms. Order, arms. Left, face. Forward, arch.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Right face, forward march.
Let us pray. For the message we are about to receive, we give thanks to the Lord. Bless our academy and our families. Favor the aspirations of our nation and protect the men and women in uniform who guard our freedom. Amen.
Hey, sing!
William Alexander Curry was born in College Park on the south side of Atlanta, grew up there, and graduated from College Park High School. It was coincidental that he was named for a great Georgia Tech coach, William Alexander. Bill Curry went on to a distinguished career as a center on football teams at Georgia Tech, the Green Bay Packers, and the Baltimore Colts. He was also a head coach at Georgia Tech, Alabama, Kentucky, and Georgia State. Many in the audience may know him best as a football commentator on ESPN, a position he held from 1997 to 2007. Coach Curry has the distinction of having played for legendary coaches. At Georgia Tech, he played for Bobby Dodd, who won a national championship and took pride in seeing his players graduate. At Green Bay, Coach Curry played for Vince Lombardi and snapped the ball to Bart Starr. At Baltimore, his coach was Don Shula and the quarterback was Johnny Unitas. He played in 3 Super Bowl games, including Super Bowl #1. After his NFL career, he entered college coaching. He became head coach at Georgia Tech in 1980. While he was there, he was selected ACC Coach of the Year. He moved on to Alabama, where he was twice selected SEC Coach of the Year. In 1989, he was selected Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year. The foundation honors a coach who has a winning record, but more importantly, who emphasizes scholarship, leadership, and integrity. Character is the focus of the award. In 2007, Coach Curry received the Amos Alonzo Stagg Award, which is voted on by the American Football Coaches Association and goes to the individual whose services have been outstanding in advancing the best interests of football. Most recently, he served as the founding coach of the Georgia State football program, and he retired in 2012. He is married to the former Carolyn Newton of Atlanta. Bill and Carolyn have 2 children and 5 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Coach Bill Curry.
Good morning.
Good
Seemed like a long time to be quiet. It was 20 seconds. We live in a culture that's filled with static, meaningless noise, mechanical contrivances that fill our heads with nonsense. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, building to a crescendo at moments like we experienced at 6:30 p.m. yesterday. When we're told 100 million people watched as two teams played a child's game. That child's game has given me virtually everything I have in life, so I don't say those words lightly. But for us to do the things that we need to do as men and women of integrity, if we are to exercise our God-given rights as we reconfirm here twice with the pledge and with our national anthem, if we are to do those things, if this is to be indeed an opportunity, if Riverside is an opportunity to succeed, then we've got to do more than listen to static. We've got to get quiet. We've got to focus. We've got to pray. And we've got to listen. Most importantly, we have to persevere. In the early 1980s, as Georgia Tech fought to regain its respect in the world of athletics, Georgia Tech has never lost its academic respect factor, but we had fallen on hard times. We had failed to do the things we needed to do to be competitive. Rivalries began to blossom through the Atlantic Coast Conference, one of which was the University of Virginia. When we went to Virginia to play in 1986, there was a sophomore student there by the name of Kristen Curry, a very candid human being, our daughter. Naturally, the school radio had to interview Kristen at the halftime of the game. This is what they asked. Kristen, why does your father wear those sunglasses on the sideline? Sometimes it's not even sunny and he's got on his sunglasses. Why does he wear those black clothes? Black is not even a school color at the Georgia Institute of Technology. And this was her answer. She said, well, I'm not sure, but I think he thinks they make him look cool. She was right. I thought I was cool. I'm 71 years old now. I don't think I'm cool. And if I put on sunglasses, it's because I need them. I think you're cool. I think you're incredible. I've given my life to young people, and I will do it again in a heartbeat. I'm going to ask you to cooperate with me. Let's. This is not an experiment. I want you to participate in the reconfirmation of something that you probably already know. If you haven't learned it, you should. And if you have learned it, you probably haven't thought about it lately. But I want you to look at your hand, everybody. For you linemen, you can go left or right, it doesn't matter. Funny lines, eccentricities, maybe some psoriasis, maybe some crunched up knuckles if your hands are like mine. Now I want you to understand this, but you can look back now. If it were possible, scientifically, to take fingerprints of the roughly 7 billion people alive today, there would not be another set of fingerprints like the one you just looked at. You are unique. You are beautiful. You are precious. You have gifts that nobody else has. There has never been a set of fingerprints like yours. There will never be another human being like you. You have a gift. And at Baylor School, a place that I used to work, as I left the premises every day, I noticed a word, 12 letters, 5 syllables, from a dead language. Magna Nimitas. Say it with me. We'll split it in half. Magna Magnanimitas. I will try it all together. Magnanimitas. Don't look in the English dictionary for it because it's not there. It's Latin. The language is dead. The idea is very much alive because what it means is greatness of spirit. You have greatness of spirit. Dr. Baylor, in his last message to his students there at Baylor School, wrote, you can have the greatest academic success, even spiritual success, financial success, and if you haven't accessed your magnanimitas and developed it and learned to give it to a cause greater than yourself, then you are not a complete human being. You are not the human being that God created you to be. And if there is anything great about the sport of football, it is not the Super Bowl ring. And it occurred to me last night as I watched that poor kid snap the ball into the end zone. I had seen 2 Super Bowl champions interviewed during the day yesterday when we had that interminable talking head stuff about what a great game this was going to be. That turned out really well, didn't it? This is the championship ring. This is the winner's ring from Super Bowl I. It occurred to me, depending on who won the coin toss, since I was the starting center for the Green Bay Packers, maybe I snapped the first ball that was ever snapped in a Super Bowl. And we checked it this morning, and that's what happened. It's such a blur to me. I was such a baby at age 22, I could hardly remember. But both of those guys, Deion Sanders and Willie McGinnis, who had played for numerous Super Bowl teams, each had, I believe, 3 Super Bowl rings at least, were asked, do you wear your Super Bowl ring? Nah, I don't wear it. It's not a big deal. People think that the ring is the big deal. They think that the 100 million people watching is the big deal. They think that being known as a macho man wearing sunglasses on the sideline is a big deal. And we learned the hard way that none of those things is the big deal. Here's the big deal. Does the motto outside your school say, Riverside, I guarantee you success? I promise you success? What does it say? What's the word? Opportunity. It's an opportunity for success. That's all it is. The ring is a symbol, what it stands for, the teamwork and the guts and the determination and the integrity and the sheer gut-check effort, day after day, month after month, year after year. That's what counts. You see, there are 2 pains in life. The pain of discipline, the pain of regret. You choose. Every decision you make either moves you toward the championship ring or moves you away from it. Every decision you make. What do we call a guy that tells the truth 99% of the time? A liar. Well, I tell the truth most of the time. How do I know which time you're telling the truth and which time you're not? Can I count on you? Can I line up next to you and I know you're going to bend your knees and get a flat back and come off the ball on the goal line? Do I know that because we've been there together so many, many times? Or might you just back off a little bit because you lack the integrity and the guts to accept your opportunities and do the great thing and develop your magnanimitas to its maximum and give it to our team? Can I count on you? Life is going to ask you that question again and again and again, as it did me so many, many years ago. I wanted no part of it. I wasn't tough. I was going to pitch for the New York Yankees. I had 2 goals in life. I was going to marry Carolyn Newton. I was going to pitch for the Yankees. Carol and I just celebrated our 51st wedding anniversary, so I was 50% successful in my goals. We're not pitching for the Yankees. That's what I was thinking about. A short, fat, lazy 12-year-old Bill Curry walking up for day camp in College Park, Georgia. Our football coach, Bill Badgett, the most intimidating human being in the history of the world, was waiting there to sign us up for day camp. He said something like, Bill, you're going to play football. It wasn't a question. I'd never watched a football game. I didn't care about football. But all I could do is nod and say, yes, sir. So the next month or so, I realized I had made a bad mistake because I was expected to show up in the locker room, and they put these awful pads, these things on us. How can you, I mean, they expected us to run into each other, and the helmets were just past the leather helmets, those plastic Riddell's, suspension helmets. You remember those, Jim, that they break on the side. They cut you. But I would not turn mine in, because if I turned it in, I'd get one of the Owens, which was a leather headgear, and I was not going to wear one of those Gipper things, right? Thank goodness, because years later, my players would say, Coach, you ever wear one of those leather? No, I never wore one. Then they expected us to go out there in the heat. 3-hour practices, twice a day. Pads both practices, sweating bullets, no water, sand all, blood, snot, everything. It was awful. We expect us to run into each other and get smashed, and the concussion in those days meant what we call the blind staggers, and it was a hilarious thing. Curry has the blind staggers. Isn't that funny? Get back in the back of the line, then it's your turn coming back up. You never left the field. I'm not bragging and I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you how it felt. Now, why? If I could stand 60 feet 6 inches from you and throw something at you, why would I want to run into you and risk injuring my little puffy body? I don't do that. It's awful, right? I decided, you know what, I'm going to quit. I quit most things, so I'm just going to quit like I usually do. I'm going to quit. It's too hard. I quickly realized I had a problem if I was going to do that. You see, my father lived in our house. You didn't quit anything at our house. My dad was a military officer, spit and polish. To this day, I can't get up and put shoes on unless they're polished. Can't do it. Haven't polished my brass in a long time. I'm sorry for that, Colonel. I'll correct that. So I was stuck. And to even make matters worse, there were only 11 new players, and they took us over on one side of the field after about 2 weeks and began to assign us positions based on merit. So the guy with a good arm, Tommy Fields, got to play quarterback. And the coach said, Richard, you play fullback. You're big and fast. And Ronald, you play running back because you got great speed and you're tough. And they had finally put 10 guys at 10 positions that they deserved to play because of physical ability. There was only one position left that nobody wanted to play. And one short, fat, future New York Yankee standing over there picking my nose. I didn't care what they did. So I think Coach Shaddix, the assistant coach, said a brilliant thing. He said, well, Bill, I guess you're going to be the center. Well, there's only one position left. And I thought, no kidding, Shaddix. Actually, I thought something else, but we got women present, so I'm not going to tell you. A 4-letter word that 12-year-old boys love to use. So I walked over to the center. He said another brilliant thing. Well, Bill, I guess you're going to have to learn to hike that ball. And I thought, no kidding, Shaddix. Then I thought, okay, this ball is not a round ball, which is what I preferred. It was an oblate spheroid, and it was hard. And I was supposed to do what with the ball? Where am I going to put that thing? And I'm going to trust Tommy Fields to put his hands where? What if he moves his hand? Are you sure he's going to leave it there? This is a big decision here. You really want to learn to hike the ball? God, it's just getting worse by the minute. So the worst possible thing happened to little short, fat, lazy chicken Bill Curry, right? Wrong. And this is how life works. Because I had a choice. And because the discipline had been imposed upon me when I wasn't man enough to incorporate it and live it for myself, I had no choice. If I wanted to go home and get some dinner to eat, I had to stay out there. So I learned to hike that ball with Tommy Fields. And then an incredible thing happened. 2 years later, I learned to hike that ball to Billy Lockridge, one of the great players of all time in college football, from right here in Gainesville, Georgia. Runner-up for the Heisman Trophy in 1963. I was his center that year, every snap. I wish we still had him around. Then at the end of my senior year at Georgia Tech, I was invited to go to the Senior Bowl. I learned to hike that ball to Joe Willie Namath. few months after that, I learned to hike that ball in another game. John Muir, Bob Timberlake, Craig Morton. And then I reported to the Green Bay Packers and learned to hike that ball to Bart Starr and Zeke Ratajkowski. And a couple of years later, I learned to hike that ball to Johnny Unitas and Earl Morrill. In various games, I learned to hike that ball to Bob Greasy, Darryl LaMonica, Ed Pastorini, and James Harris. An entire generation of the greatest football players of all time. I had the privilege of being in the huddle and being a part of their teams, only because there was such a position as offensive center. That which I hated the most became my stepping stone. It was the only position, and listen to me now, it was the only position in all of sport that would have allowed me to have a career in that which I loved. And I did play in Yankee Stadium 2 or 3 times, but it was not with a round ball. And it was against the Giants because they used to play their home games. I had the privilege of playing on some of the greatest teams of all time, with the greatest teammates of all time. I learned that my magnanimitas was much more and much different than I had imagined. I had never thought that I might have a unique skill. So here's the message, that which appeared to be the worst thing that could have happened to me ended up being the best, only because the discipline was imposed from without. In time, as I was forced to go through drill after drill and practice after practice and game after game, that which had been imposed upon me was incorporated and breathed into my soul, such that the discipline could be exercised when I chose for it to be exercised. 2 pains in life, pain of discipline, pain of regret. You choose. And with every choice, you're determining your future. Every time you choose the gut check, the honorable, the right way, the honest way, every time you do the right thing, when you're tempted to cheat just a little bit on a test, maybe you can plagiarize because it would be maybe not caught by the latest computerized versions of things. Every time you choose to do the honorable thing and do your own work, you increase the odds that you're going to do it the next time you're faced with a similar circumstance. Because we are above all creatures of habit. You in the gut check range, you in the gut check zone, you're playing in the Super Bowl, whatever that is for you. When you're facing your opportunity, whether it's at Riverside or IBM or the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're in your moment of truth, and you think you're about to die. You're going to do what you've been doing. Because you see, if you choose the easy way out, if you cheat just a little, if you lie just a little, if you don't tell the truth to your teacher, if you don't level with your teammates all the time, then when you're faced with the real tough decisions, you're going to choose poorly again. And your life will be very different than you can imagine. As I was thinking about what I was going to do so that I could marry Carolyn Newton, I had already found out I probably wasn't going to be pitching for the Yankees. I had a great baseball coach who also from Gainesville, Boyd Harris. God bless him, I owe him so much. He worked so many hours with me. And we had a great team. We went to the state finals, and I was the starting pitcher, and we got beat. And I figured if I couldn't leave Rossville High School for my teammates, I'm probably going to have a tough time with the Dodgers. So I ended up with this other sport. My counselor called me in, this Ruby Crow. She said, Bill, I understand you're considering Georgia Tech. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, don't. I said, don't what? She said, don't consider Georgia Tech. And I said, why? She said, they have national merit scholars at Georgia Tech. They take calculus and physics and statistics. You wouldn't survive 2 semesters. Bill, you're not a stupid boy, but you can frolic all the way through high school. So I thanked her and went down to the library and looked up the word frolic. She was right. I decided to go to Georgia Tech anyhow. We had a chemistry class at 8 o'clock every morning, 4 mornings a week, with a lab on Thursday afternoon. Dr. A.C. Top was speaking a language that I did not recognize. So I felt like it would probably be best for Dr. Top and for me if I did not attend that 8 o'clock class, if I just slept in. Coach Dodd had told us, now men, you are going to go to class or you'll regret it the rest of your life. Well, I didn't believe that. He was such a nice man, right? There were 115 students in the section. How could they possibly catch me? They did. There's my name the next day. Bill Curry, report to Grant Field, 5:30 a.m. Wednesday morning. In your running gear. About the 50th time, I'm running up and down those steps through my own vomit, tears and snot, and self-pity, and sobbing and weeping and moaning. I decided that chemistry at 8 o'clock in the morning was a wonderful thing. And that's a cute little story. You guys are looking, some of you are looking a little green around the gills, but the faculty all thought that was cute and they chuckled. But here's what matters. I never cut another class. I never cut another class. My football coach loved me too much to allow me to destroy myself when I was too immature to see my own potential in life. So along the way, when you're seeking your Super Bowl ring, whatever that is, when you're seeking the unit that's going to mean so much more than any ring ever will, when you're seeking to become a part of the Marine Corps, or when you're seeking to become a part of the Green Bay Packers, or when you're seeking to become a part of that business that you're building, or your church, or your family, it's so very important that you're willing to dig up your magnum-class, develop it, and give it with all your heart. Then you have found your true being and your meaning and your purpose in life. And you will have realized the opportunity that Riverside Academy has afforded you. I went on to the Green Bay Packers. I was the last draft choice. They had 20 rounds in those days. They only have 7 now because they don't know the names after 7 rounds. Vince Lombardi turned to his personnel man and said, Cutler, we drafted 19 players. It's 2 in the morning. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. Do something humorous with the 20th selection. They did. And there I was, 1,000 miles north. You're talking about an alien land now, Wisconsin. If you grew up in College Park, Georgia. But Vince Lombardi was not my biggest problem. Oh, he was. So Coach Dawg was a Southern gentleman. Coach Lombardi was not Southern. Your religion, your family, and the Green Bay Packers. That's what you think of. You talk like this years from Brooklyn. They've been trained to dislike Yankees. Your religion, your family, and the Green Bay Packers, in that order, that's what you'll think of. That will be your priorities. And as soon as you get on the practice field, you get very confused about the order of the priorities. Every day. Dear God, how I hate it. Could not ever forgive him for not being by God. That was not my biggest problem. There were all pros. It was already being called the greatest team in the history of professional sport. Not the greatest football team, the greatest team in the history of professional sport. And there was an all-pro middle linebacker named Ray Nitschke, and I was supposed to block him. I was an undersized. I wasn't this small, but I was the smallest lineman on every team that I ever played on. And I was expected to block Ray Nitschke, and that was a joke. He broke my face mask and my nose, as you can see, and knocked me out the first day. That was not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that I had never been in the huddle with an African-American person. Now, on that Packer team, you see, Lombardi's true genius was not football. What I could not appreciate, what I could not understand, as I came to love him later, as he lay on his deathbed, and I went in his hospital room to apologize to him, however fleetingly and haltingly, I did my best to let him know that I loved him, and I finally understood. This was years later. We don't have time for that today. But I will tell you that what he did is he forced us to be men of honor before we were ready to do it. Does that sound familiar? He detested racism. He would not tolerate racism. If somebody said a racist word in that camp, you were gone the next bus out. Now, we're right in the middle of the civil rights movement. Most NFL teams had a quota, and this is his genius. They would brag. We don't have any African-American players, except they didn't say African-American, did they? Oh, we have 1, or we have 2. They bragged about it. We beat their brains out. We had 10. And if there had been 40 on a 40-man roster that were the best players, he would have kept 40 because he was only looking for people of merit. People who understood their magna limitas and developed it and gave it to the team. And so there we were with Herb Adler, David Robinson, Bob Jeter, Willie Wood, most of these, Elijah Pitts, Mark Fleming. Most of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. And the most intimidating of all was the great Willie Davis from Grambling State University. Willie Davis, working on his master's degree in business at the University of Chicago, while being the captain of the greatest team in the history of professional sport. How's that for shattering the racist stereotypes that we had been taught growing up? And I thought, those guys, those big men of color, are going to listen to my southern accent, they're going to hurt me and send me home. And I did not want to go home. And I got a lot of flaws. I made so many mistakes. But I got a couple of redeeming characteristics. I would fight and scratch every step of the way, every day, all day, if I want to do the right thing. And in my moments of wanting to make a team, I wanted so desperately to be there. So I waited for the hammer to fall. Oh, and another thing, we're in Wisconsin, and it's August, it's 42 degrees, very hot, that ain't right. Nightmare, alien, strange. I'm walking out of the dorm one night in St. Norbert College where we stayed, and a voice came out of the darkness from behind me, Bill. I thought it was God. I just laughed. It was Willie Davis. He said, I'd like to speak to you, young man. I thought, oh, no, he's going to tell me to go home. He said, I've been watching you, and I love the way you practice. You got a chance to make our team, and I'm going to help you. I said, you're going to help me? He said, yeah. He told me about his insecurities when he was a young player, and how he had left the field in the only big game that those teams ever lost. Lombardi's playoff record was 9-1, and the one loss was to the Eagles in Philadelphia for the World Championship in 1960. Willie said, I left that field as a young player, and I realized that I had left something out there on that field. I had left regrets on that field. Two pains in life, the pain of discipline, the pain of regret. I left regrets because I didn't give it everything I had, and I made up my mind in that instant that would never happen to Willie Davis. He said, you come on our practice field tomorrow, Bill, you'll leave no regrets on the field, and you just might make our team. And when you don't think you can make it another step, you come find me. When Lombardi's screaming profanity and spitting in your face, and Nishi's smashing your face mask and breaking your nose, you come find me, and I'll get you through it. I'll get you through it. I will get you through it. You know what we called him? We called him Feelgood, Dr. Feelgood. Sure enough, Nishki tore my head off. Sure enough, Lombardi made me want to cry. Sure enough, I wanted to go home again, just like I did when I was 12 years old. I'd go find number 87. I said, how you feel, man? He said, feel good, man. You can do it. You can do it. So what did the great man do for the terrified rookie? He didn't just help me play in the NFL for 10 years. He didn't just help me to 3 Super Bowl rings. He changed my life. He transformed my life with an unexpected, undeserved, unrewarded act of kindness. 2 pains in life, the pain of discipline, the pain of regret. You choose, and we all need a little help along the way. Well, you're getting your help right here. What are you going to do with it? That's your choice. Because when you choose well, it's more than worth the pain. It's more than worth the action. It's more than worth whatever you have to take from the CEO or from the math teacher or from your president of your school that's so hard and so disciplined. You think maybe he's too demanding sometimes. Wrong. You become the one that's demanding of yourself as it becomes habit. And then when you face your moment of truth, when you step into that huddle and you begin to realize, hey, we're not so different. And I'm not going to look down on somebody because they're from a different nation or they have a different religion. I'm never going to look down my nose at anybody ever again because they happen to be a person of color. There's somebody in your life that needs for you to do for him or her what the great Willie Davis did for the terrified Bill Curry in 1965. You can do it. Unexpected, undeserved, unrewarded acts of kindness change lives, and in so doing, they change the world. Because here's what happens in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, whatever your fourth quarter is, in the 2-minute drill. I don't know how yours feels. Here's how ours feels. We got 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock, 1 timeout. We're down by 4. We got 80 yards to go. We got to have a touchdown to win. I'm playing in my 23rd football game in a row. I have not missed a play. I'm dying. TV timeout. It's 100 degrees. I've lost 12 pounds to dehydration. I've broken my nose again. My ankle's pointing a funny way. And I do not want another Super Bowl ring. I do not want a new contract. I don't want any money. I don't want to win the game. I don't want to keep Mean Joe Green off of Johnny Unitas. I don't care if he... And you seek to quit in my business, we don't have to leave the field. We don't have to be carted off. All we got to do is turn our shoulders about that far. And let that big sucker run back there and do what he does. Then we can all go home. Nobody would know. I go suck on the oxygen. And then the still small voice, the Multimedia Club, says to me, don't you dare. Don't you dare. My dad's voice says to me, we don't quit. And then I'll look at the sports center guy next to me because I know what he's going to do. Because our coach has put us through it so many times. I know he's going to go beyond himself. And I found my motivation. I cannot let him down. I will not let him down. When we understand that, when we join forces, lives are changed. We're going to finish up here. Let's do that. Let's join hands. Take those hands that you looked at earlier. Don't snicker. It's okay. A lot of big, tough guys join hands every play. Back of the money. Join us here. Here's what happens. Don't talk. Don't talk. Listen to me. Pay attention. This is the most important thing for you to understand. When we join our greatness of spirit, nobody knows why this is except God. But we do know that it's true. When we join our Multimedia, we don't increase our capacity to do the right thing, arithmetic. We don't increase it geometrically. We increase exponentially, instantly. So that we don't just change Riverside Academy's culture. We don't just change the state of Georgia. We change the world. We change the world. That's the capacity that God's given you and me today. 2 pennies and a discipline and a ring. You've been a marvelous audience. Thank you. God bless you.